All right, today we're going to take a journey deep, deep into the mind. We're going to explore two of its most fascinating and kind of weird mysteries: that strange glitch in the matrix feeling of deja vu and the wild, unpredictable world of our dreams. So let's dive right in. So let me ask you something. Have you ever walked into a room you know you've never been in before, but you get this powerful, undeniable feeling that you have? Or maybe a conversation with a friend suddenly feels like you're just rereading a script you already know by heart? It's such a strange, fleeting feeling, isn't it? Well, that phenomenon has a name. It's called déjà vu. It's French, and it literally just means already seen. And that's exactly what it is, right? It's that unmistakable feeling that a brand new moment is somehow an old memory. It's impossible to prove, but you feel it. And, people have been trying to figure this out for centuries. So let's start by looking at some of the explanations that go way beyond the science lab. I mean, for centuries, people have turned to more spiritual or mystical ideas to try and make sense of this strange little flicker in our minds. And there are three big theories that kind of pop up again and again. Okay, so one idea is that we're briefly connecting with a parallel universe, where another version of you has already lived this exact moment. Wild, right? Another popular one is reincarnation. The idea that this feeling is just a faint echo, a memory bleeding through from a past life. And then there's the idea that it's a flash of precognition, like a psychic glimpse into a future that you're only just now catching up to. So you can see we have two completely different ways of looking at this. On one side, you've got these really intuitive, spiritual ideas, past lives, parallel worlds, psychic stuff. And then on the other side, you've got the neuroscientists, who are looking for answers inside the incredibly complex wiring of our own brains. Okay, so what does science have to say about all this? Well, researchers are pretty sure déjà vu isn't some window into another life, but something, well, a little closer to home. They think it's just a fascinating hiccup in our own brain's processing. Now, one of the leading theories here is called dual processing. So picture this. Information is constantly flowing into your brain through multiple pathways, all at once. Usually, everything arrives in perfect sync. But what if one of those signals gets delayed, just by a tiny, tiny fraction of a second? Your brain processes that first signal and goes, okay, this is happening now. But then, a millisecond later, the exact same signal arrives again, and your brain goes, whoa, wait a minute, I've seen this before. It basically mistakes that tiny delay for the passage of time. It thinks it's a memory when it's really just a tiny lag. And there are other scientific ideas too. One is just simple memory confusion. Like, imagine you walk into a restaurant you have never, ever been to, but it's got a checkerboard floor and red chairs, just like someplace you saw in a movie once. Your brain latches onto those familiar little details and tricks you into a false sense of total recognition. Another one is about divided attention. This is a cool one. Maybe you glanced at a scene for just a split second while you were distracted. You didn't even consciously notice it, but when you turn and look at it properly, your brain has already processed it, and that creates that strange, familiar echo. This whole idea of our brains playing tricks on us, it opens the door to an even bigger mystery: dreams. I mean, think about it. If a tiny processing delay can create a feeling as powerful as déjà vu, what else is our mind doing when we're not paying attention? We spend a third of our entire lives asleep, and a lot of that time is spent in these bizarre, totally illogical dream worlds. So the big question is, why? Why do we do it?
So before we get to the why, let's talk about the what, because there are some really fascinating facts here. Get this. Studies show that most of our dreams, about 65% of them, are actually driven by negative emotions like fear and anxiety. Not exactly sweet dreams, huh? And here's another thing. While most of us dream in full color, about 12% of people consistently dream only in black and white. Isn't that wild?
Now, most of this action happens during what's called REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement. And it's this incredible paradox, really. Your body is almost completely paralyzed, so you don't act out your dreams. But your brain is buzzing with activity. Sometimes it's even more active than when you're wide awake. This is the main event, folks. This is the stage where our dreams get super vivid and feel like a real story. So, okay, why does our brain do this every single night? Well, science has a few leading theories. The first one is memory consolidation. Think of your brain like a librarian at the end of a very busy day. It's sorting through everything, filing away the important memories, and just tossing out all the junk information we don't need. Another big one is threat simulation. This is the idea that our dreams are like a virtual reality simulator, a safe space where we can practice responding to scary situations without any real danger. And finally, they help us regulate our emotions, kind of a way to process the highs and lows of the day when no one's watching. But what about dreams that seem to do more than just sort through the past? I'm talking about dreams that seem to predict the future. Now, this is where that line between neuroscience and pure mystery gets really, really blurry. And it might sound like something straight out of a movie, but it's a surprisingly common experience. Think about this. Studies have found that as many as 38% of people believe they have had at least one dream that actually came true. That's more than a third of us. And some of the most compelling stories, they come directly from history. Let's go back to April of 1865. The Civil War is finally ending, but inside the White House, President Abraham Lincoln is deeply troubled by a dream he just can't shake. And this is just days before his death. According to one of his friends, Lincoln told them about this incredibly disturbing dream. He said he dreamt he was walking into the East Room of the White House, and he saw a coffin surrounded by mourners. In the dream, he asked a soldier who had died, and the soldier replied, "The president. He was assassinated." Just a few days later, Abraham Lincoln was killed at Ford's Theater. Okay, now let's jump forward about a century to a small mining village in Wales. It's October 1966. A massive, rain-soaked mountain of coal waste collapses and it buries the local school in a horrific landslide. It was a terrible tragedy that seemed to come with absolutely no warning. But for some people, there was a warning. A psychiatrist who visited the grieving town ended up collecting dozens of accounts of premonitions. But the most heartbreaking of all came from the parents of a 10-year-old girl named Ariel Jones, who was one of the victims. The day before the disaster, she told her mother about a dream she'd had. She said, "I dreamt I went to school and there was no school there. Something black had come down all over it." So, how on earth do you explain stories like these? I mean, is this real prophecy? A true window into the future? Or is it psychology? The scientific view would suggest that Lincoln's brain was just running one of those threat simulations we talked about, based on the very real anxieties of his life. And maybe the children of Aberfan subconsciously picked up on tiny clues, faint rumblings, the look of the hillside, that something was wrong. So in this view, the brain isn't seeing the future. It's just an amazing detective piecing together tiny subconscious clues into a powerful, and in this case, tragically accurate story. And this really gets to the heart of the whole mystery, doesn't it? Because while science can offer these logical, plausible explanations, these experiences are just so intensely personal and fleeting. They happen inside your head. You can't capture a dream in a lab. You can't prove that a feeling of déjà vu was a link to a parallel universe. It's just your experience. So ultimately, even with all our incredible technology and our growing understanding of the brain, the simple truth is science doesn't have a definitive answer for these strange premonitions. It really does remain one of the great unsolved mysteries of the human mind. So, I'll leave you with a question to think about. Whether it's just a brain glitch, a memory echo, or maybe something more. The next time you have one of these strange experiences, ask yourself, what is my mind trying to tell me? Thanks for taking this journey with me.
Health is the most precious gift. If this video helped you or someone you love, please like, subscribe, and share so more families can stay safe and healthy.